YouTube, Matty's Daddy 12, Team JMT. Coming to you guys with another deck profile. The format's fairly over for me. Nationals is over. There are no more regionals until after the ban list change. And the only thing left in this format for me is the Kentucky State Tournament, which I will be judging, so I will not be able to play in that event. So basically I decided I'm just going to try to have as much fun as possible and play obscure tier 2, tier 3 decks just to have a lot of fun with this format, what's left of it. So the first one that I built is Fabled. Now my goal with this deck is basically just special summon as many synchros and as many exceed monsters as I can every turn. Other than that, there really is no rhyme or reason to what I'm trying to do other than just trying to just spam out monsters as much as possible. I go out there and I try to shoot my wad as fast as I can, and whatever's left whenever that's said and done is what I try to make work for turn 2. But yeah, I just go out there and try to summon as much as I can. No real back row protection, just trying to OTK as much as possible. So let's go ahead and get into this deck profile. Fabled Grimrow. If I have a Fabled on the field, I can discard this from my hand to add a Fabled from my deck to my hand. 3 Fabled Ganesha. If this card is discarded from my hand, I can special summon it from the graveyard. If I do, it gets an attack bonus, and when it leaves the field, it is removed from play instead of sent to the graveyard. 2 Fabled Crews. When it's discarded from your hand, you're able to special summon a Fabled from your graveyard. It's really good. It makes for a lot of really good plays, a lot of interesting plays in this deck. What I feel is the best tuner of the deck, the Fabled Cerebral. Cerebral is a 2-star beast. It's just really good. I really like it. Anytime that it's discarded, you get to special summon it. So yeah, any of the discarding abilities that you have in this deck, he immediately pluses from that because he special summons himself. The Fabled Chawa, I only run 2 of this card. I see a lot of people running 3 of it, just because I'm not a big fan of this card. However, it does start off a lot of really good combos. If you have Crews in your hand and a Grimrow in the graveyard, you can discard Crews to special summon this, which allows you to special summon a Grimrow from your graveyard and then synchro for 5 into Fabled Reagan and draw 2 cards. So there are plays to be had with this. I just prefer Cerebral over Chawa. The last tuner that I run is Fabled Kushano. This card is an underrated Fabled card because it is a great catalyst to get your combos started. If it's in the graveyard, you can discard a Fabled from your hand to add this to your hand, so you lose no hand disadvantage, or you lose no hand advantage if you're discarding a Ganesha or a Cerebral. Because you're going to discard those, he goes to your hand, and those cards are immediately special summoned. So it's just a way to special summon that monster. Also, it is a level 3 Fiend, which makes it a target for Tour Guide of the Underworld. Tour Guide is excellent in this deck. It opens up so many plays. If you first turn Tour Guide and Grimrow, you can then summon Tour Guide, grab Kushano, discard Grimrow to add whatever you want to your hand, make Leviathan or Giga Brilliant or whatever you want to make at that time, detach Kushano, making it a 2500 or giving it the attack bonus if you go Giga Brilliant or whatever you want to make. That gets him into the graveyard, gives you a great monster to start the game with, and gets the Grimrow into the graveyard, and you're able to add something to your hand. So at that point, you could actually go Cruise and discard it to add Kushano back to your hand and special summon Grimrow from the graveyard. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of plays to be had with these cards. Next, you're running Tour Guide, so you got to run Sangan. And if you've noticed, all the Fableds are light monsters. And now you've got 4 darks in the deck also. Excuse me. Which now gives you the ability to run Blackluster Soldier. Again, just another win more card. I feel like I have all the ability here to be able to summon out as much monsters as I want to be able to end the game. And then just to put a last nail in the coffin, I can always go BLS to just push for game even harder. So there's the monster lineup. Let's go ahead and go into the spells. First, I got Pot of Avarice. You need draw power, and there's a lot of these cards that you want to be able to reuse. So Pot of Avarice does that for you, puts them all back in the deck for you. Next, 2 Dark World Dealings. I catch some flack for this just because Dark Worlds exist, and people are like, oh, we're going to feed their Snow and Graphas, and you're just going to feed into their deck, and they're going to plus so much off of you. Well, hopefully, if you decide to net deck this and build it yourself, you're smart enough to not just go out there and just randomly play Dark World Dealings. Let's have knowledge of what we're playing against and then play Dark World Dealings. But the biggest reason Dark World Dealings is good in this deck is because you need consistency, and the only way to really add consistency is to add draw power. And the only other draw power other than Pot of Avarice for this deck would be something along the lines of Upstart Goblin, which you don't do enough damage to afford to be able to give your opponent the 1,000 life points, or Pot of Duality. And Pot of Duality, where it may add consistency, it keeps you from being able to special summon. And like I said, when I built this deck, my idea was to just shoot my wad as fast as I can and try to do as much damage as possible. Pot of Duality slows me down. And doesn't allow me to special summon and go off. This allows me to still special summon and go off, and it's actually a discard outlet for me, which makes this a lot easier to make my plays. Next, 2 instant fusions and a mind control. I grouped these together just because this deck, like I said, I'm trying to synchro and exceed summon as much and as fast as possible. These cards give me access into other monsters, which allows me to do exactly that. Next, Staples, Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, and double MST. No Book of Moon in this deck. I really wanted Book of Moon, just could not find room for it. Now the trap lineup. You got to have the Solemn Brigade, Solemn Judgment, and double Solemn Warning. Next, I do not have any effect veilers in the deck, so I feel like I need the monster negation, effect negation. So I've got the double Fiendish Chain. Also, in this deck, you try to do as much with Fabled Reagan as possible. So you end up setting a lot of stuff out of your hand that you really don't want to at the moment. So I've got Starlight Road to try to protect those cards whenever you've set them and you don't want to risk losing them. Next, 2 Call the Haunted. Again, you just synchro so much with this deck. Double Call the Haunted is just way too good. I actually won a game at my locals because I was playing Double Call the Haunted in this deck. I set both of them in the battle, or set both of them. A couple turns later, battle phase, I'm attacking. He mirror forces. He was only at 800 life points. He plays mirror force, eliminates my field. I call the Haunted. He Solemn Warnings. He didn't Solemn Warning. He Solemn Judgment it, putting him at 800 life points. And then I played the second Call of the Haunted during my battle phase, bringing out my Kushano and attacking for 1100 and winning. So double Call of the Haunted is really good in this deck. And then last but not least, double Torrential Tribute. Just really good stuff. Eliminating the field, clearing out the field so you can make your big push into an OTK with all your monsters. After the main deck, the biggest issue you have with this deck is the extra deck because it's just so cramped. Stardust Dragon, Scrap Dragon, I feel like those are must-haves. Ancient Sacred Wyvern is my only 7-star option. I would have much rather had Black Rose Dragon. However, this guy can get big fast. So I wanted him in there just for the chance that I could go really big, really fast. 1 Bryo. YuGiOh is really good. Not only is he great by his effect alone, but your discard fodder would hopefully be your monsters in this scenario, so you'd be able to get their effects also. 5-star options, Hyper Librarian. I have double Reagan in this deck also. Now, Hyper Librarian, if you Synchro Summon, you get to draw. Fabled Reagan, if you Synchro Summon for him, you get to draw 2. So the way that this works is if you have Hyper Librarian on the field, you can Synchro into Reagan, make Librarian Chain Link 1, Reagan Chain Link 2. If you have no cards in hand, Reagan draws until you have 2 in hand. So he'll resolve first, you get to draw 2, then Librarian will resolve, which allows you to draw a 3rd. Just some more great plays that are in this deck. Also, if you're able to make that play, you have a Dark and a Light on the field, which allows you to have access into Blackluster Soldier whenever you draw into it. Next, level 5 is a Catastor. I feel like you've got to have that card. He's just too good not to play. Fabled Kodobi is my only 4-star available to me. I feel like this card is just way too good not to at least try out. Especially when you've got Chawa and Ganasha. Discard Ganasha to special summon Chawa. Ganasha special summons itself, and then you have 4 right there. Synchro into your 4. And then this guy comes out, and he can be really boss. So yeah, if you're going to play Fabled, try him out. Next, I go into my Exceeds. I run one Adrius. You go level 5 quite a bit with your synchros. That's why you have so many options here at level 5. After you use these effects, you can then Exceed Summon and blow stuff up if you need to. It makes for a really good place. One Utopia, just because I feel like you need it. You don't really make him very often. Really, the only access you have into him, I believe, is the Grimrose. So he's really not that great of an option. But you do run Mind Control, so you do have the chance of making him. Next, Leviair. Rank 3s are most important in this deck. I say that, however, I'm only running 2. Leviathan Dragon also. I would have loved to have seen Acid Golem. I would have loved to have seen Zen Mains, but I sold my Zen Mains, making a little money. So, yeah. Those are the 2 rank 3s that I decided to use. Next, Flame Ghost and Darkfire Dragon are my 2 fusion monsters that I use for instant fusion. The biggest reason why I use these 2 cards are because they are darks. And then my tuners are level 2 Cerebral and level 1 Chawa. So if I'm able to get one of those 2 cards onto the field with instant fusion, I then go into the appropriate one, which gives me the chance to make Reagan or Hyper Librarian, and then gives me the light and the dark in the graveyard. So there you go, guys. There is my Fabled build right now. Probably going to try to mess with this a little bit more, but this is what I'm going to try to do for right now, guys. I mean, I'm just going to try to go out there and just try to spam out as many monsters as possible and try to have as much fun as possible until the format changes in September. So I appreciate it, guys. Subscribe, comment down below, show us how much you love us.